Welcome to another edition of King Spotlight as we are joined for the third straight week by Monarch football coach Jeff Knarr. Coach, thanks for joining us again this week.
Oh, thanks for having me.
A very big game this week for Kings in more ways than one as your Monarchs travel to Williamsport to face perennial MAC contender Lycoming College. The team comes off a tough 7-0 loss to Stevenson last week as we head into week 2 of the MAC schedule. But before we get into the game with Lycoming, let's do a quick recap of the Stevenson game. You had a chance to see the film, and on one side of the ball you saw a big improvement in the defense, but on offense, you still have yet to get it into high gear. Talk about last week's effort on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, again, vast improvement. The things that we want to do defensively, we saw, there on Saturday. I mean, we were hitting, our pressures. We were playing fast, playing physical. Got guys into the backfield. Put pressure on the quarterback where we only got credit for one sack, but we had him on the move, made him elevate throws that we were able to knock down. Got a pick, tackled much better from there. So it was a good effort. The thing we need to clean up a little bit is some of the discipline we had. They hard counted us, for like I think 3 times we jumped. We had 2 pass interference, one questionable, the other one again we didn't utilize our technique. And that was on an interception. So we need to just clean up some of those things. But we saw, vast improvement and saw, our defense, doing the things it needs to do to be successful. And then offensively, we just got to be consistent. Our kids have got to, be positive and take when they do something well, and build on that in the game. And we were doing things well, and then we call those same plays later on, and then execute them from that standpoint. And then, ball security is an issue. We do a good job, with that. The kid put his helmet right on the football, and unfortunately took a bounce that, bounced out of the end zone as we're right down there. And we had opportunities, and when we get opportunities, little things matter. And we got to execute the little things more so we can be more consistent, offensively.
Another thing that hurt the team was penalties. Typically, your teams are not a very heavily penalized team, but in this game there were over 10 for your team, so that really cost you.
That was huge, and that's something that we did address with our guys because, we are not a highly penalized football team, but we had 7 on defense and 1 on special teams and then 4 on offense. And really what they were, I mean, they're just discipline-focused penalties. Really, one was a young guy, kind of understand the scheme, trying to do a little bit too much from there, but the rest is, the ball moves, you move. On defense, shouldn't jump. There was a technique on punt rush for the shield. We don't even teach that, and so guy, not understanding what we want. So we got to make sure the guy gets cleared up from there. And a couple other guys, we were protecting our quarterback well. Then our tackle's trying to get a jump instead of, got to be quick, but not in a panic type of a mode. And then we get 2 illegal procedure penalties and, a block below the waist back towards the line. Where we're trying to do 2 more than our 111. And just play within the scheme. And you'd be all right. When you try to do more, that's sometimes when you end up, doing things you're not supposed to do and then creating penalties. And that really killed us because offensively we were behind the sticks a bunch of times. Drives were going well, and then we would get a penalty. And that killed us. And then defensively, penalties hurt us a little bit with field position in a game when it's raining out the whole entire time. Field position was a big part of things.
Coach, one thing your teams have displayed in the past is resiliency in putting a difficult loss behind them and moving forward. How has the team responded in practice this week?
Well. I mean, they know, the defensive guys are starting to feel, they're hitting their stride a little bit and know that they're, played well, and they know they can clean things up because they need to, they continue to play better. And the offensive guys, they see that, hey, we execute this play, and then we did the same play, saw the same look, and we didn't execute. And they're, working hard, and we're working hard with them to get them to correct those things from that deal. So we had a later practice on last night, but the kids responded well to that, and there was enthusiasm and good knowledge and a good solid practice for a Tuesday. So they've bounced back and they realize they're close, and they know that little things determine whether you win or lose, and they're working hard to take care of those little things.
Moving on to this week's game. Last season, Kings won a 28-24 thriller that kept Lycoming from winning the MAC title outright. Clearly, that was a huge win for the program against a team that is highly respected year in and year out. Coaches like to say they prepare the same each week, but when you and the team enter a week prepping for a program like Lycoming, is there a little bit more bounce in their steps when they walk onto the practice field knowing they are going up against a traditionally strong program like Lycoming?
Yeah, I think they're excited for the challenge, and because then they know that in practice, then they got a little more bounce in their step, a little more focus, because they know that's what, they got to be totally focused come Saturday and execute in all phases and in all the little things if you're going to knock off a team that, is preseason picked to win the conference again, won it last year, and is always in the mix in the MAC. So that attention to detail needs to be there, and the only way it's there on Saturdays is there during the week. So our kids kind of realize that. They had that last night. They're excited to go up to Williamsport and then see what happens.
As you said, Lycoming was picked first in the MAC preseason coaches poll, and they are 2-0 thus far this year. They have been solid on both sides of the ball, outscoring their first two opponents by a combined 69-13 margin. They have a veteran offense, which has two of the top returning players at their position in the MAC in senior Tyler Jenny and senior tailback Craig Needhammer.
Yeah, I mean, the same guys. It's like every year you see the same people. You wonder, hopefully they're ever going to, graduate. But they're a similar offense to us. They're a pro style. They do, their quarterback, does a great job of running, their offense from that standpoint, putting in the right positions, throws the ball, well and on time, and then, the running back, he's a tough, hard runner with deceptive speed and very, very good vision behind, again, a physical, offensive line, and they have great balance of running and throwing. And the Umpleby kid at receiver is one of the better ones in the conference. So they have plenty of weapons and experience, and are hitting all cylinders right now offensively.
Balance has been the key over the years for Lycoming offensively. So what will your defense need to do in order to try and slow down the Warrior offensive attack?
No, I mean, the one thing is you got to stop the run. If the teams can run the football, then they can kind of do what they want to do. But if you can stop the run and put them in predictable situations, then it kind of gives you a better chance. They're not as balanced, and then you can kind of make your calls geared to what you're going to see a pass or things like that nature. But if they're running the football and they're constantly ahead on the chains and moving the chains from there, then they can call whatever they want to call. Then when you're constantly feel like you're playing catch up and trying to get in the rhythm. So the key for us is to be able to match their physicality and be able to control and stop the run game. And still do that with the guys on the third level, understanding they're pass first defenders and not, giving up a play action pass, and they're very good at their play action game and taking shots and not giving them, a cheap one, as we are trying to get guys in the box to stop the run.
A veteran Lycoming defense allowed just 114 yards of total offense in last week's 26-0 road win over Albright. After two games, the Warriors have yielded an average of just 187.5 total yards per game, including only 89 rushing yards. What attributes does this defense possess that makes it so effective?
I mean, they just let them play. I mean, they're well coached. I mean, they're always. I mean, since I've been here watching on film, they're one of the best defenses year in and out that we watch on film and prepare for. And if you're going to teach a defense, with different schemes and stuff, you watch them. I mean, they're simple and they're basic, but they're just tough and they have high motors. I mean, their D line, they get off the ball really well and they get into the linemen before they get into them, so they're able to reestablish the line of scrimmage, which creates room for their linebackers to run that are athletic. I mean, a couple of their outside guys were former DBs, so they run well, and then they have very good safeties and All-American back there, and good corners, and they're just very sound, in their fundamentals, and they play hard, they tackle well, and they're extremely physical.
The Kings offense has yet to hit its stride, so what does this group need to do in order to be successful against such a strong Lycoming defense and also to finish drives?
We need to, again, strike some balance. I mean, it's hard to run the ball, against these guys, but you have to. You got to be able to have, some key runs and be able to run the ball in certain situations, and then when we throw it, we have to be precise and make, our passes count. Last year we did a pretty good job, with that and got, maximum production when we threw it. And then in our running game, the final stats weren't that impressive, but we had some key runs that kept things moving and kept them, off balance a little bit. Because again, if they're, a defense that gets you behind the chains, then they know it's coming, and then they become even that, harder to move the ball against. So we gotta, continue to try to have balance within our scheme, and then, that'll hopefully give us a chance here to have some success and hit our stride. And then, as we're moving the ball on the field, stay consistent with the scheme. And not, shoot ourselves in the foot, the kill drives, which we've done so far the first two games.
In a game like this, field position will be critical. So talk about the efforts of your special teams and what they have done this year and how it will play into a game like this.
It's huge. We emphasize it to our guys that basically the last 2 years, in 2012, they put themselves in great position with their punting game and made us have to go inside our 10, start the drives at least 4 times. Last year, I think we made them start drives inside the 10, maybe inside the 5, 3 drives. So field position is a huge game when you have 2 ball control, balanced pro style type of an offenses that if one has a shorter field to go, that advantage is there. And then if you can get an intangible, we were able to block a kick, last year and gave us great field position. Those things are huge. So we've emphasized with our punt unit, that's going to be key to be able to punt the ball well and cover well and try to make them go, the far as possible, to score.
Coach, looking at the schedule, this is really the biggest game that you will have played this year in terms of the opposition. What can fans expect to see in terms of physicality and intensity on Saturday?
I think you're going to see a physical football game. We want to try to play a physical brand of football. We were doing that on defense, pretty well last Saturday. We have to be more consistent with that, offensively from there. Lycoming is very physical on both sides from that standpoint. And then hopefully you'll see our same type of defensive effort we gave last Saturday. And what we'll see is less mistakes, across the board by us and more consistently, on offense. And then we'll have a very good football game.
Well, Coach, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks again for being with us, and good luck to you and the Monarchs on Saturday when you travel to Williamsport to face Lycoming College at 1:30 p.m.
Thank you.